Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. Today, I think we're recording episode 215, something like that. I never really know. Today, I have with me Kate Bradley Chemis. And as always, I did not actually ask you how to pronounce your last name, so hopefully I was somewhere near. Okay, perfect. For those of you listening on the podcast side, not on YouTube, she did a "you're okay" sign. Clearly, both Kate and I talk with our hands, so you're probably best off watching this on YouTube instead. I'll definitely include the link. So Kate is the CEO of Lately. Tryitlately.com. Lately. So as always, I'll give you kind of the chance to give us the elevator pitch for Lately. What do you guys do?
Awesome. And by the way, amazing job. So it's Chemis rhymes with furnace, and most people don't get that on the first shot. So
Awesome.
High five to you, Tony. Yeah. So Lately uses artificial intelligence to instantly transform podcasts or videos or blogs or even chapters of a book, any text, audio, or video, into dozens and dozens of pre-vetted social posts, right? So I'm a little bit bad about talking about my own company, as they say that the shoemaker has no shoes, but essentially the AI studies what your customers are engaging with, and it builds a writing model, and anything you feed it, it applies that writing model to what you feed it, and then it, boom, magics that content into like mini movie trailers to promote, whatever it is you fed it.
Okay. So let's kind of go step by step. Okay.
Break it down. Yeah.
So if I am an insurance carrier or a larger insurance brokerage, I probably have a person or a group of people who cost me a lot of money, who manually write the social media posts for LinkedIn, for Facebook, for Twitter, for Instagram, TikTok, whatever whatever social media we're active in. So get rid of them, and it just works.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. So our customers on average save like $3,000 a month each for a small business or an individual from not hiring that team anymore. And the reason is, so there's a couple things involved though too. It's not total magic, right? You as a human need to be involved. And that's a really important component, Tony, too, because the AI learns from us, right?
Okay.
And there has to be an us to continually teach it. But the other thing that's really key to understand is that we know that humans are the magic that make the connection of trust, right? This is why people trust you specifically to sell them that insurance, right? They like you, they believe you, all those things. And a robot doesn't have that. So a human on its own, great. AI on its own, pretty great. But a human plus AI, that's 1 + 1 = 3, right?
Okay. And when you first gave the elevator pitch, you mentioned that it learns from what has been successful with your audience. Is it able to look at our entire social media history and learn, or is it just from here forward?
Yeah, it looks about a year back, and then it updates every single day. So it's learning from the current as well. And as it starts to make recommendations to you, it can then predict what your customers are going to care about, right? Because nothing matters more than exactly that, right?
Okay. And so, insurance companies especially, but agents also, are careful, right? Careful, conservative, sometimes overly so. We come from and it makes perfect sense. We come from a world where the 200-year-old insurance companies that have survived because they're conservative in their underwriting, and in a world where we might take, right, I think of like Insurance Nerds media liability policy, which is like a $600 a year minimum policy with CNA, and it could result in $1 million loss, right? That's the limit. Or something along those lines. I don't even remember, but like it could result in a loss that is so large that like they'll never make it up with the $600 a year we pay them. And so because of that, insurance companies get used to being super careful. So the idea of letting AI just run wild with my social media probably scares a lot of them. So So what control do my people still have in like is there like a time delay like in network news where if somebody swears it's like 5 seconds where we can speak it before it or how does that work?
Yeah, so that's a really insightful question, right? So here's the good news, first of all, which is what hasn't changed since the dawn of people selling insurance or anything else is that trust factor and the human ability to, you know, reach out and create that emotional connection, right? So number one, that's really important to remember. No matter how conservative you are, you still are implementing that in every kind of reach out you do, right? So that's important to think out. And then with the AI, I'll just walk you guys through the steps, right? Literally, you log into Lately, you connect your Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram accounts. Instantly, it goes and builds that writing model. And then all you do is you literally add a file, so you could upload this podcast or video, and Lately will automatically transcribe the whole text of everything you and I have said here today. And it'll apply the writing model and it'll look for the coolest quotes that you or I have said, the reshares, right? The stuff that's going to be valuable, the little memes, right? And it takes those quotes and it'll match the video, in the case of this, to every single quote. And instantly you're going to get probably 100 social posts out of this long, like an hour long interview, right? Like this. Now, out of those 100, 20 are going to be ready to rock. You can push the button and let them rip. But about 40 or so are going to be close. And this is where we recommend that you get in as a human. You can edit every single one, make sure there's nothing weird there, take out the ums and the ahs, add in, you know, appropriate hashtags or whatever you want. And then maybe trash the last 20 because they were too weird and the AI like hasn't quite gotten you yet, right? So you have lots of control as a human, but also you have control on the back end too. So once we produce the analytics for you, we'll show you the words, literally the building blocks of what you say that people respond to, and you can tell the AI to pay more attention or less attention, right?
Okay, so ultimately my, let's say, 3 social media people eventually become 2 senior social media people who are not having to write copy, figure out what my audience likes, uh, watch the entire video every time I do a podcast, right? Listen to the audio and the whole thing, find they can just look at what the AI came up with and make kind of that final executive decision. And then not only that, but it'll learn from what my people do.
Yeah, so a couple things there too. Number one, we know it takes 12 minutes for an average person to write one social post. So we remove the fear of the blank page. They're not like, they don't know, they don't have to think about where do I start? It's like right there, that jumping off point. And then we're hopefully freeing them up to do what they do best, which is the only things humans can do, which is the reaction, right? So Twitter and Facebook, they put all these hurdles in here to force you to go there to have comments, right? So the idea of social listening is automated is idiotic. You need to actually go to the platform and pay attention. And Lately frees up your team to do that, right? So Lately's going to do the push. You guys get to do the pull, which only humans can do so well. Creating those conversations, listening, having, you know, DMs and all that kinds of things. So what we're seeing with our customers is just by using this method, like especially our insurance customers, because they happen to be like total social animals. You guys like sell like nobody's business. They see an average 140 to 280% increase in engagement in the first 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, he just leaned forward, guys, just so everybody knows. Podcast land.
Yep. Yeah, that's a big increase.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is absolutely a big increase. Okay.
And it's a different mindset too, Tony, right? So like what we're saying is, sorry to interrupt you,
no,
but
no
like
worries.
we're giving you, let's say from this, like, so if you got 60 posts out of this hour, then we also suggest that you run, let's say 2 a week on Twitter, right? For the next 30 weeks. Okay. And you're going to do this with all of your podcast content. You can also do it with any inbound you get. So if somebody interviews your CEO, that's PR, that's earned media, run it through the Lately, or a press release about your company. Like you don't need to just publish one headline, yay, we got a featured in Forbes. Who cares? Find out the interesting sentences that Forbes wrote about you and then run it through Lately, right? So it's this idea of, I call it binge marketing, right? So like, when we watch TV now, Tony, we don't really watch it live. We watch it at will whenever we want. And same with listening to music on Spotify versus the radio. And so now marketing is just, I mean, I knew this for a while, but like marketing is just catching up to market to people in bulk after the fact, because driving people into something live is sort of like pointless now
Yeah,
anyways. That's
yeah,
not when
yeah,
we
yeah.
want it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So you
Okay.
got me.
So tell me, what's your most successful client, like where you've really made a difference, whether they're insurance or not?
Yeah. So Gary Vaynerchuk, do you know Gary?
Yes, and I am sure my agency side listeners, all of them know Gary.
Awesome. Gary is like an incredible human being, as we all know. So Gary has an entire Twitter channel that's fueled 100% by Lately and nothing else. It's called Gary VTV, and we got him a 12,000% increase in engagement. 12,000%.
Okay, so he's and I'm sure he's big enough at this point. He probably has people doing his social
Yes,
media
yeah.
anyway, right? So he's kind of the best in social media and has hired a team to do it his way. So he launches a new venture, the TV side, the Gary Vaynerchuk, which I'm assuming is like an online channel, so I'm not familiar with it. Uh, and use you guys to handle the social media for that piece of the business, and you guys deliver better results than Gary V himself and his team.
Yeah, and so here's why though, because Gary has a problem that lots of our smaller businesses also have, which is the need to unlock the content he creates, right? So everybody spends hours recording a podcast like this. You have to prep for it, you have to market it, all the things that you had to do, right? Some people then post a blog about it, and maybe then after that you write 2 or 3 social posts. So a lot of work goes into that, and most people don't even do all that, right? They just kind of pray and spray and hope that if they build it, people will come, which doesn't happen. So for Gary, he has all these keynotes that he's given, right? Tea with Gary V, all these interviews, and he wants to unlock all the gold he says, because that man throws out gold left and right. And it's hard for a human to capture it, right? So he was having his team try to manually go through and watch and listen to these and try to pull it out, whereas Lately can do that part automatically. The team, the human, can sort of massage it, and what they do is the tweets that get the highest engagement on that Twitter channel, they republish them on Instagram and elsewhere. So he uses it as a farm to find what literally is going to resonate the most with his audience, and then amplify it, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. What about insurance specific? Are there any brokers or carriers that you can share that are already on Lately, and what kind of results are they seeing?
Yeah, totally. So we work with AmeriFirst. They're one of our amazing customers. So we have a ability. So Lately is a very powerful platform, Tony. Once you have social media posts that are so amazing, you want to be able to use that everywhere, right? So it's pretty robust deal. So if there's HubSpot, Sprout Social, Sprinkler, Hootsuite, and what else? I forget. But Lately is going to be the 6th one there, right? So it's pretty powerful. Um, and we've created a way for one account to puppeteer hundreds or thousands of our others. So in the case of AmeriFirst, they have a CMO, and she works with 4,000 locals across the country, and she has a couple hundred of Lately licenses that they're piloting and testing. So she'll auto-generate content from her long form stuff, podcasts, etc., and then she can feed it to the locals, and she can do it 2 ways. She can check any of their social accounts after they've logged on. She doesn't know their passwords or anything, so they've connected their Twitter and LinkedIn to Lately. She can publish on their behalf without them ever seeing it, or she can push a pipeline of content to them, and they can edit it as they like, and then pick and choose what they want, right? So it's freeing up the human to go do what they do best, which is create those conversations and react and respond.
Yeah, that would be amazing for a small agent to have tested content coming down that you can utilize that is specific to your product.
Yeah, totally. And we work with like Phil Treadwell and Bradley Flowers. Like we work with indies as well. And they're seeing the same kinds of results, right? So if you're Gary V, you're at 12,000% increase in engagement. The indies are more at like 140 to 280% increase, which is, still pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
call
So
them indies because I don't know if that's the right term, Tony, so you got to correct me, but
it's fair.
okay, that's fair. Because I used to be a rock and roll DJ. Did I tell you that before? I can't remember.
We'll talk career
Okay.
here in a second. One last question, and then
Oh, sorry.
then we'll talk career. No worries, no
Okay.
worries. So we should have opened with that. We would have avoided losing any viewers or listeners. That I might cut that piece and put it at
In case they're like,
some
get to the interesting stuff.
some YouTube channels have that where they give you like a 5-second like super interesting piece, and then they actually start. That might work this time. So how does the subscription model, or like are you charging, if I'm an independent agent, are you charging me per tweet, per hour, per, right? Do I need to like install the lately server in my office? Like,
We bring in 10 little men and women, come to your office. They move in. No, I'm just kidding.
So how does that look like?
Yeah, so it's software as a service. So you sign up for monthly or annual, and we start at $300 per month. Generally, we do a sliding scale fee, actually, Tony, and it depends on a few factors like how many licenses you want. So the more you get, there's a bulk deal, obviously. And we look at different usage things as well. So it's really important just to talk to my team to figure that out. We're a young company, so we're still learning a lot about exactly what buckets to establish, because we have the ability to continue to learn. What's interesting to us is to see how the AI learns, right? So that's just a really important thing. If you want the AI to study only one voice, so it's hard to like jank the system by like giving the same account to 20 people, because you don't want it to start sounding like me on your account, right? Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So let's talk like kind of your career and how this came to be. And by the way, it's interesting. You said we're a young company.
Mm.
I've got you on LinkedIn just almost 7 years. CEO.
I know.
So that in technology years, that right, like you're an elder CEO at this point, right?
It's true.
So,
You're
so
right.
I'm sure that is tied with the how you ended up doing this. By the way, really funny story. So we had one Zoom conversation prior before recording, and the one thing that I remember from that conversation is looking at your LinkedIn, which I do a lot of career advice. So I'm always looking at people's LinkedIn and then logging into the call kind of thing. And I do it with everybody, even if it's not career advice. So I looked at your LinkedIn, and I have asked people for years not to do the following, not to do nationwide VP of Personal Lines 1978 to 2012. Because I want to be able to know where you came from, even if it's in the same
Right.
company. You are the perfect opposite of that. You've got, I counted them last time. I thought something like 35 different jobs listed on the, and for those of you listening to the podcast, like she can't be a day over 40, right? Like probably around my age, or I'm 38.
I'm 46, so we're close.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank
So at 46, having to have 35 jobs is pretty impressive. So yeah, and at some point you were a rock and roll DJ. So yeah, give me the story.
Oh, thanks, Tony. I forgot that was you. That was such a good compliment too, because I mean, I used to own a marketing agency, so that's why I know. But also, one of my jobs was consulting for an outplacement agency in Washington, D.C., and I had to teach people how to optimize their LinkedIns, right? So those logos are an easy way to do that, right? Like you said, I have a history because I want you to trust me. I want you to buy something from me, right? It's all back to that. So yeah, so I was a rock and roll DJ. That was my longest career, but all different kinds of places. So my last gig was broadcasting to 20 million listeners a day for XM satellite radio.
I'm an extreme extrovert. Why would
No.
anybody give that up?
Oh, I'll tell you. Well, there's two reasons. Number one, well, it's not two really. Well, yeah, it's all the
I'm
same.
sure there was a reason that.
Oh, there's a huge reason. Yeah. So it's because they turned corporate, right? So like, I mean, all the fun got sucked out, number one. Let me flesh that out for you, right? So here I was, I'm at the show. This is the place every DJ I know wants to be at, right? And we're programming our own stuff, and it's a wild west of shenanigans, and like the whole thing was insane. And which is why I like radio. I was a line cook previous to that, so like I love the pirate. I like the lawlessness of obviously startup life as well, right? I love that. So there was a lot of sexual harassment, of course, which honestly, Tony, I didn't even know it was not cool. Like I thought it was normal because it was normal. But suddenly, like my ideas were pissed on, or I didn't get the credit, or people like didn't like my rough around the edges style and were trying to mold me. And like, just like you, I'm a wild horse. If you tether me, I'm going to collapse. But if you let me run, I'll win. I'm going to win for you, right? And so I could feel for the first time in my life this like constraint, and my body started screaming at me like, this isn't working for you. And I had all these ailments and I wasn't listening. And so then I became physically crippled, literally. So I have a partial permanent disability. I can't type or touch my phone without extreme pain. Unless these days now I'm able to do, if I do 45 minutes worth of the certain kind of exercise every day, I can do a live demo 1 or 2 times a day without any pain. But that's a lot of work, right? So anyway, so here I was, I'm terrified. My whole life, just like yours, revolves around a computer, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so at first I hired an intern because XM wouldn't pay for it. So I hired my own intern because nobody believes you. I look fine. What's wrong with you? This doesn't exist. This is 15 years ago. Nobody knew about any of that kind of
So,
ailment.
so even like getting like an ergonomic keyboard or like the weird shaped ones, it still was killing you.
I did it all, yeah, because this is how my stress was manifesting,
Okay.
So eventually I got what I have now, which is Dragon Naturally Speaking. So I use the one for paraplegics, like no hands. So I still talk for a living, Tony. How crazy is that, right?
Okay. Okay. So
Into
so
a
so
microphone.
so health forced you to leave being a corporate DJ.
Yeah.
So you fell into marketing.
Well, actually, so what happened was I went to another music company, and it was the same thing. It was another boys club, and I couldn't fit in, and all the things. And I was a miserable person. I was just crying all the time, and I hated my life and my job, and I didn't understand, like, how, I couldn't figure it out, And so my dad had it one day. He just literally shook me by the shoulders lovingly and said, "You can't work for other people, and there's no shame in that." Right? This was news to me. I didn't know that was possible. But then suddenly it clicks. I was like, oh, my dad has owned his own business for 30 years. My mom has her own business. The guy down the store owns the liquor shop and the restaurants, or whatever. And so my then boyfriend, my husband now, he's so thoughtful. He went right out to Barnes and Noble, the store, and got me a book. And the book was Guy Kawasaki's Art of the Start. Right.
Okay.
So I read that, and I actually didn't read the whole thing. I was reading the first chapter, and it said, "Don't make a plan, just get started." And I was like, "Well, fuck this book. I don't need to watch. I don't need to read this." And the next day, I met my first investors. I didn't know they were investors, but they were like, "We love you. Here's $50,000. Let's start a company." Right. So and also the other thing I did, I was reading a self-help book because I was trying my hardest to do everything I could, I was seeing all kinds of weird therapists and everything, and I read this lame ass book. But what it did was it got me to understand what was going through my mind, right? So I really believe in the power of what you think. And all I was saying was how much I hated everything. I was toxic. I used to smoke. I was really good at smoking, you know.
I don't
And
know how one is good at smoking.
oh,
Like,
I can make you want to smoke. I make them look delicious. Oh, someday if I'm ever on my deathbed, just
okay, so being good at smoking is all about making it look so that way people go like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, got it. I didn't even know how you would measure that. Okay.
It's awful, right? We all have our vices, you
Uh,
know. But what I learned from this self-help book was that what I was thinking all the time was I suck. And when I did something wonderful, like if I hit a line drive when I was playing softball, that's not what I was thinking. At that moment, I was thinking I rule. So I needed to just, change this, switch the channel, right? And so when I was at the company that I started, we were doing well, and it was a music related thing. Someone else came along, Tony, and said, "Hey, you're really good at marketing. Want to come and consult us? We'll pay you a lot more money." And I was like, yes. The music industry left a bad taste in my mouth. I just wanted to get out.
mhm.
And that was Walmart.
I would not think of Walmart as like, you're the first guest, 214 or 215 episodes in, you're the first guest to say anything nice about Walmart. So I would not think of Walmart as where I found my passion. So Walmart brings you in as a marketing consultant, basically?
Yeah, it was through, so they were working, so it was through the National Disability Institute. Walmart has a foundation, and we were working with the corporate team and their nonprofit team, and the National Disability Institute, United Way Worldwide, the IRS, Bank of America, and AT&T. And so these are all national organizations, and they all have franchises. And so together they were supporting a project that was designed to help lift the poor out of poverty through financial empowerment, right, and education. And so my first thought, remember, I'm a bull in the china closet. I'm rough around the edges, right? So I don't have a lot of decorum when it comes to corporate stuff. So I was like, you guys are, this is a mess. And I went home, and for my own mind, I just built a spreadsheet to organize the goings ons. And I did it in a way, because I wasn't a marketer. I came from, so at XM, what was interesting was this is before the cloud happened. And so you would create your own cloud. So XM had a cloud of music that, and the metadata, so all the music had to be categorized so that thousands of us could access it from around the globe. So I understood the value of a system like that. So my spreadsheet system became that. And I did a couple of things. So there were 20,000 small and medium businesses and large businesses involved in this project. The first thing I did was audit them. I created like a 5-minute audit that I could instantly understand what their skill levels were like. And what I discovered, Tony, was that the very small marketer down the street had the same problems as the largest retailer in the world, right? And they're the problems that you and I have been talking about today. People hate writing. Marketers hate writing, right? It either stops them altogether. Where do I start? Or it's a chore. They don't want to do it. They're worried about what to say, all those things. They screw up consistency, right? So lack of consistency is the #1 reason for loss of sales, and because of customer trust, it kills the trust. Back to that, right? And Walmart with 20,000 people, you got to say the same thing. Everyone's got to do it together, right? And then the other thing was the long form content they were creating. So newsletters or blogs or one sheets, even videos, nothing would happen with it, right? Maybe there's one shout out on social, check out this blog, right? And so I thought, wow, what a waste of all that gold, all that Gary V type of gold. And so I designed the manual version of Lately, which is how I got them 130% ROI year over year for 3 years.
So the manual version of Lately, so was this like, I'm imagining like a flow chart, or like right instructions so that so that anybody could pull out the gold out of the content.
Yeah, it was a combination. Like, so first, for example, I asked Walmart, hey, can I have a list of all your Facebook pages? And they said, we don't have one. And I was like, well, how can we expect everybody to work together if you don't? This is crazy. So I went and made the list, okay, first. And then the audit. Okay, so these companies are going to be capable of doing this for us, keep coming, right? So all of that. And then looking at the analytics, right? So here's what works in this area of the world. Here's what works when they talk about this. Can we test Spanish posts? Like all these questions people had, and no one's doing it. So I like the spreadsheet system was kind of a giant index of what we could do, what we had done, and then all the analytics as well, like everything from paid advertising. Like I just needed to understand that. So Lately is actually a really powerful beast. But then to your point, yeah, so we would create social posts and everyone would, kind of tweak them. And then we would make a dissemination system out for the locals to use it themselves, so they could do exactly what we were talking about with AmeriFirst, right? So they could do the hard part. The hard part is talking to people, right? Finding out the questions and not the push content. And so we actually so the program was called My Free Taxes. That was the software. And we gave Intuit a run for their money. That's why they have a free tax program now, right?
Yeah. I've heard about that, and yeah, the Intuit one to this day is it's hard to stick to the free side, right? You start on the free
Yeah,
side and anything,
they're
uh,
tricky.
yeah, and anything drops you over to the paid side. But anyway, that's a whole different story. Uh, so I haven't. So okay, you figured out your brain works in such a way, and you found yourself in the right place where you designed this beautiful thing. But you don't, as far as I've heard, you didn't have a lick of programming, developing / AI experience.
No.
So how did you turn it into an AI tool?
Well, so actually the one thing I did have was, so before I worked for Walmart and had my marketing agency, that in between company, the guys who I met who gave me money for the first one, we built a widget, Tony. I don't know if you remember what a widget was, but like widgets were like little miniature websites that sat on top of a website, right? And they're kind of passe now, but we made it so it was 2 songs a day, an old song and a new song. And I'll tell you why this matters to the AI. And I had to build it. So I had to find a coder who knew code. I didn't know anything about this. And so we had a spreadsheet with all his code in. And I learned enough to manipulate the code that when, because Chris, I wasn't paying this guy any money. He was doing it for free for me. God bless Chris. But sometimes he would go on vacation. I'd have to do it myself. So like I knew hardly anything, but just a little bit. But what I did know was I just want to jump back to radio and then I'll get to answer your question. So what I love about radio is what I love about any media, not any media, books particular and radio is the theater of the mind. So that's the idea that you on the other side, the listener, the reader, you have to participate in the imagination for the story to jump, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my job, which is your job in sales, so my job on the radio even though I hold the microphone, is to make you feel like you've got to say, like you have a voice and this is a two-way street, and that you're gonna trust me to take you on this journey because you've got a role in it, right? So this is how all marketing and sales should work if it's done well. And so I thought about the tips and tricks that I used in radio, how to use that in the content we created for Walmart, and how to use that in the AI that we use at Lately, right? And the reason is because, sorry, I just got to circle back and tell you all these things. So the old and new, we were just talking about that for a second. I had that widget, old songs, new songs. So when you listen to music, Tony, the neuroscience in your brain has to access every single song you've ever heard before to categorize the new one next to it. So by default, there's nostalgia because you're being forced to access the memory banks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool. Now, your voice is also a note. So really similar thing. This is why I was saying, how funny is it that I talk for a living, right? Similar things happened here. And for evangelists to bloom, for fans to become, for listeners to become fans, for customers to become evangelists, you have to make them feel comfort in something safe to deliver them something new, right? So let me breathe. So to really answer your question, here I used my spreadsheets that I had made for Walmart for all my clients. Suddenly I have a marketing agency. And my friend Steve Blood comes along. I met Steve. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's a tech guy. He's a he's an angel investor also. And he knows this world that you're talking about that I don't know, right? And he keeps harassing me for like 2 years. Hey, Kate, let me see your spreadsheets. All we need to do is get $20,000. We're going to automate your spreadsheets and build some wireframes. And I was like, okay, first, don't touch my spreadsheets. What the hell? Stay away. Second, well, I don't know what a wireframe. You're speaking this language to me that I don't know what that means, you know. And then $20,000. I was a line cook and then a radio DJ. Like I scraped for my money my whole life. I was buying my first house. That's what I was doing with my $20,000. And this guy was just talking about it like it was $5, you know. So Tony, he pulled together the money himself and brought in a designer who's now my other co-founder. And they came to my house one night and showed me the wireframes, right? So that's the blueprint of a website. And he says that I was much nicer to him after this because I got it, right? He saw something I didn't see.
Okay. So you find your co-founder who you didn't even know you needed.
No.
Now you have a co-founder who gets the tech side, but right, you've got the wireframes. You've got a printout. You've got a blueprint of what this should look like. There's still probably 150 grand of IT spend that has to go into getting this to minimum viable product, right? So was he able to bring in the investors, or what was that process years long, which is why the company's been around for so long? Or how did it actually be? And I know that you went through plug and play just this year. So it, yes, there is something here. We've got to do a startup around it.
Yeah. So as you're saying, it's not a straight line, and I didn't even realize this, by the way. So like I didn't know that what I had done for Walmart was amazing at all. Like I did not know that. My aunt had to keep telling me like, this is amazing. And then Steve had to come along and be like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I'm like, I mean, duh, I just thought of it as like how I worked, you know, and I didn't even, this has been constant. Like I need somebody else to be like, by the way. So the first thing we did with Steve, I remember saying to him, I'll never forget this. He's like, let's start this company. And I was like, only if I can be the boss. Because I'd learned. And he was like,
said, yeah, I'm not allowed to work with somebody else.
Right. And like, he was like, he'd been a CEO before. So he's like, oh, it's all you. Like, I didn't know what I was getting into. So off we went. So Steve, Jason, and I now. So Jason's the designer. Jason and I went and raised $250,000 in the first 6 months on the wireframes and ideas. And I just, it was kind of amazing. I don't know how we did that, because they're not investing in anything except for you at that time, right? All this other stuff.
You started hitting angel investors with.
I just looked at my network, actually, Tony. I just thought, who do I know that has money? And I just started putting it out there, and they turned out to be either angel investors, some friends and family, not really, but one thing that's interesting is when you look at who you're connected to, and you're looking at it in that light, things reveal themselves in a different way, or you're just stupid enough to not care, which is me too. I didn't have any shame of asking anybody for money, and I'm sure that I sounded like crazy, but I was convincing, God damn it. My dad always said I should have been a lawyer, So we raised the 250 and we get a tech guy to Steve is more like a big brother. He's doing other things now. So he's like an advisor to us. So we get a tech guy. It turns out that we waste $150,000 in a year because he happens to go on a series of alcoholic benders that I
wrong
discovered.
guy, basically.
Yeah, totally.
You've got a key person. One shot at getting this done right, and you get the wrong person.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is not the first time. So here we are, we got almost no money, nothing to show for it, and I enter a contest with 500 people, and I come in fourth place, a pitching contest, and so I got a wind in our sail. We know we're not crazy, right? And then I apply to a very famous accelerator called ERA in New York, and we get in. So they give us $40,000. We've got a little more wind in our sail, and we find another CTO who we then proceed to lose to severe depression, suicidal depression. He didn't commit suicide, but that's, yeah, right? So we're 2 years in. Steve's like, dude, do you want to quit? And I'm like, no fucking way. No way, we're doing this. Because I'm so stubborn. I'm doing this, And then we raised a few $1 million. But it's not easy street, right? So here we are. We raise our first round. it was like a little less than $1 million. And we raised a second round, and we're just about to get into market. We haven't even started selling anything yet. We still got to build the goddamn thing. So last year, Tony, and this is the sob story. You guys ready? Get your hankies out. So 2 years ago, I had circled $2 million. We're in market, by the way, and we're making money. Well, we have MRR. We're still losing, money. And I have $2 million circled. I can't find a lead investor. And then all that data comes out that says that female entrepreneurs only get 2% of all venture funding because they have to work their asses 98% harder. And I couldn't figure it out.
Quick question.
Yeah.
How much? So you had raised $2 million. How much did you think you needed at that time?
So at that time, at that time I'd raised like 2.5 million total. No, is that right? No, that was before then. I was going to think about this for a second. I think we raised 2 million total, but so the way it works, just for people who don't know, is you raise enough for 18 months, basically, right?
Yeah.
And so you're looking down the road, and in venture land, you spend way more than you make in the beginning because you're trying to just find the patterns and scale them, right?
Yeah.
So it's not weird to be losing money.
So for 18
but we're
months
old.
For 18 months of runway, how much were you thinking you needed?
So for the first round, it was after we stopped losing our CTO, after we got a CTO that we liked, we did a 750 round, so $750,000, which got us basically through about a year. So it wasn't 18 months. We actually only got to 12. Things cost more than we thought. And then we raised another round from another 750, and I think we'd done a couple bridges in between, like $250,000 here, $250,000 there. We got into market. Everybody could start seeing the promise, right? And then you're looking at things like, it's like different houses are on fire all the time, and you got 50 houses on fire all the time, right, Tony? So like in the beginning, we sold Lately as an organizational tool. We didn't even know anything about AI, and we hadn't hit on the writing and the unlocking yet at all, because that's not what it's not what I understood that I had done for Walmart. I thought that the organization was the key, right? Took us a little while to figure this out. And we kept just watching our customers, and we had the wherewithal to spin it and flip it based on what we saw. Now, at that time, we were targeting a much smaller customer and charging very low prices. So there's
you were underselling yourself.
Underselling by huge amounts, right?
Okay.
Yep.
I don't want to. You mentioned the whole female founders.
Oh yeah.
Get a lot of this money. So I wanted to make sure to understand what the amount of money needed was, but I don't want to lose that point. So I don't want you to lose track of it. So
oh sure.
Because it is really important, and if we have female insurtech founders listening, whatever tips they can learn from the way that you ended up surviving being a female founder is a very valuable thing. So anyway, so the numbers come out that the research comes out that venture investment is going largely to white male.
98%. Can you believe? That's like a huge
it's
number.
Insane, yeah.
Yeah, and since that report came out, by the way, it was, so at that point it was like 97.7%, and I think now it's 97.3%, like, right? So that's the improvement we've made, which is and if you're Black, you don't even get on the scale, man. It's like just such bullshit. So, what I learned the hard way was how to stand up for myself. I had a meeting once, Tony, with a very famous investor. Let's just agree, I am not boring of all the things. He fell asleep twice in the fucking meeting. Okay? With someone else in the room, too.
Is he at least ancient?
He was in his, I'm going to guess he was in his, not even, early 60s maybe.
Okay, so like, not like...
He's just a dick. Yeah. And like, I remember, like, and he started calling, his daughter's name was Katie, which he kept bringing up. And like, that doesn't make me feel very good when you suddenly think of me as your daughter in a business meeting, like, it's not, what the hell is that? It was just so weird. And I remember he sat, for those of you guys listening, I remember at the end of the meeting, he sat back, and ladies, listen, look out for this. And he put his hands behind his head like so. And he's like, so how can I be helpful? Which is code for saying, I have nothing to do with you. And I just wasted your time for an hour. Right. And I looked at him, and I stood up, and I was shaking, Tony, like I was so scared. And because this is a big guy, he's a big deal. And I said, John, you can be helpful by never doing this again to any entrepreneur. And he's like, well, what did I do? And I was like, you gaslit me, you fell asleep twice, you railroaded me, you were 15 minutes late for this meeting. After I got here, I saw you pick up the phone. You saw me come in and you picked up the phone. You know, I called him out on all the shit, right? And like, then I tried to storm out of the room, and it was one of those doors with magnets, and I couldn't open it. I had to ask him to open the door for me. It's awful. But you know, I think what's important, and it doesn't matter if you're just selling day to day or if you're trying to like knock the world over, like your gut. Remember, I wasn't listening to my gut in the beginning. Your gut will tell you when something is weird or awkward, and everyone's gonna. It's so interesting right now, Tony, too, because so God help us and thank you, universe. We've increased sales by 166% in the last 9 months. And we do that, by the way, by only using Lately to market lately. So we have a 98% sales conversion.
So
Okay?
it's good to hear that you eat your own dog food.
We eat my own dog food, exactly, right? We decided to stand by what we were selling. And even now though, like I have these days where I just crumple up in a ball because it still happens. I check every goddamn box and I still have to work harder, you know? So anyways, the other thing I want to tell you about the grinder story was, so here we are, I have 2 million circled. I can't get it because I need a lead investor to write the term sheet. I can't find the lead. Nobody has the.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. I thought you had the 2 million in hand, that you were just afraid of
No.
running out of money.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
Okay,
So no one has the
so
balls to step
they're
up.
committed, but until there's a lead, you don't get a cent.
That's right.
Okay,
Yep,
got it.
exactly.
I did
Yep.
not know that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm like banging my head against the wall, and Joanne Wilson is one of my investors, and she's an amazing woman. And she was like, hey, this is what's happening to you. And I was like, what the hell? And so I had no choice. I dropped my burn from $100,000 to $10,000 a month, right? Which means most of my employees didn't get paid. I had to say, like, can you not take a paycheck for a little while? And then we spent the year doubling sales. We landed big customers, VaynerMedia and SAP and AB InBev. But still, it's not lighting up. To your point, we're still 7 years old. Like the hockey stick isn't, going yet. And I'm like, what the hell? So I find my energy. I get into a famous accelerator in Silicon Valley with Jason Calacanis, who you might know, launch This Week in Startups, like that's him. And I fly out to San Francisco from New York every day, once a week, for 14 weeks to stand on stage and do a live huge demo to a bunch of investors. Now, I can't type, you guys, right? So I'm flying out all day, do the pitch the second day, and then I fly home. I can't get any work done on the plane. This is a huge waste of time for me and as a CEO, right? It was crazy commitment. But I graduated in the top 3 of the class. I won the final demo day there. So I'm checking all the boxes, right? I've got a term sheet in hand. I've got $4 million circled. And then the world exploded.
You mean COVID?
COVID. Yeah. COVID.
So a bunch of the investors backed out?
It was a little more, I mean, the details are, it was kind of weird because the term sheet we didn't love. And I knew that, but you try to leverage it. I mean, it's all this game, right? And I was dragging my feet before COVID on this because something in my gut was saying, like, this isn't right, and thank God, actually, because it wasn't right. But I had the wherewithal to ask one of our investors for a $50,000 loan just to make us comfortable, because a raise can take 3 to 6 months to actually close all this paperwork. So I was like, just put that in the bank right now. That'll give me some sanity. And then as the world was literally, I could see all this stuff happening. I was like, oh, thank God we have that $50,000. And we pulled off the raise, and I just sat back. Tony, it was so messed up, right? Because like at this point in time, the whole world wants to Zoom with me, my family, everybody, right? I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm a failure, and I'm a failure twice. Twice I didn't raise this money. What the hell is wrong with me? That's all I see, right? And so I literally I've never watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians in my life. I watched it for 2 weeks on the couch. I ate nachos, stuffed my face. I was just like, fuck the world. I don't want a Zoom call with you and have dinner. I mean, that's just crazy. But before I did that, I said to my team, hey, there's this feature that people have been asking us to build. Please build it now. And they did. And that was the video clips feature. So Gary Gary didn't really know about us, to be honest, right? But one of his teammates, Jim Thompson, made that Twitter channel, and he walked over to Gary and showed him his phone, and Gary said, "Who is that? I want to talk to them right now." So that was good.
So okay. So grit, basically, just if you believe in it, just stick to it. Anybody who's listened to the podcast before probably heard me mention the book Grit. Don't know if you've read it, but ultimately what the research has found is you stick to it, you eventually win. It's that simple. And then another very interesting point is the system, the product, the service, whatever. The clients keep asking for one thing, and you've got everything else. That one thing could be what actually gets you to escape velocity. So for you guys, it ended up being the video. And it makes so much sense looking back. The world, like over the last couple of years, it's become all video. Like, it is crazy how important video has become. I've done nothing but send emails to clients and watch YouTube over the last 8 months.
Totally.
So yeah, video, it has truly I become so lazy when it comes to like reading a website. Like if it doesn't have a nice video about what they do, it's hard for me to get through it anymore. So true. Of course, we're all producing tons of video content.
Yeah, and also, like, you heard me do a poor job of describing lately in the beginning, right? It's very hard to tell people what we do. But now I don't have to tell them. I literally just pull up Gary's Twitter channel and they go, "Oh, I get it," right? So it's changed everything. And granted, this is not easy street now, Tony. I mean, there's always 50 houses on fire. Got 50 new ones, of course. But the one good thing is I have been able to pay my team for the first time in 2 years, right? They're a really loyal group because they know we got a tiger by the tail here, right? And then, speaking of trust, like where we put our effort from the beginning was in the hard part, right? So this, marketing and sales and accounting and anything else that you do day to day takes some effort. You don't just push a button and boom. And if you are, it's a piece of shit, whatever it is, right? And so we knew that. So because I was a marketing person and I knew from radio, we started building our audience from the beginning, and we decided to treat every customer like they were Coca-Cola. I don't care if you're a nonprofit library, like, we're going to treat you like you're gold, and we're going to make you an evangelist. And that social proof has gone a long way, right? So like literally every day somebody writes a social post about Lately. Like we've earned it. So every customer we've met since January knows us already. They tell us, "Oh, I heard about you from somewhere," which is same thing. I mean, I've got like 350 customers, right? We're a small company. We've only been in market for 3 years. We're old, right? Because we're 7 years. For investors, we're old, but we're doing it. And my favorite thing, Tony, is for people to say, "You're doing it wrong." And I'm like, but it's working.
Okay, that's a fantastic story, and we didn't do a demo this time, but I did a demo with you guys. I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something like that, and it looks beautiful. It looks.
Thank you.
Like the system is definitely easy to use, and it's there. Like this is not an MVP. The product is there. So congratulations. So for the listeners. If you're on the brokerage side and you're actually producing content or earning content, you can't go wrong. If you're already paying somebody to do social media, you really can't go wrong by taking a look at Lately and getting a demo and talking about them. What it might look like for your business. If you're on the carrier side, I guarantee you're not the chief of marketing. So if you are a leader on the carrier side, send this podcast to your chief of marketing, because we rarely talk marketing. So they probably don't listen to it. It's more the insurance nerds, right? So the head of underwriting and the head of claims are more likely to be listening to this. So send this to your head of to your CMO, and ask him or her to take a listen, because it really is. I'm going to do the same, and I told Kate that before, that once we recorded this, I would send it to my chief of marketing at Jacobson. She lost a good part of her staff to COVID, and they do. Jacobson produces a ton of content that probably doesn't get utilized. Perfect tool for them. So I will be doing the same and sending this to my head of marketing. I haven't seen anything else in the market that looks like it. So it's definitely unique. Thank you for building it. Thank you for sticking to it, and thank you for telling us the story with such heart. And for InsurTech founders who are listening to it, if you believe in the product, stick to it. And beg, borrow, steal. Don't steal. Beg, borrow, annoy friends.
Steal ideas. It's okay to steal
ideas. Look at your LinkedIn again and see who might actually have investment level money. And really, if you need to raise 750, they don't have to be millionaires, right?
No, they don't.
You definitely know executives who if they see the promise, can invest 50 grand into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I definitely do. Like, I definitely know enough people that if insurance actually had a revenue model, which it doesn't, would have the ability to invest at that level.
It's more about having the balls to ask, really.
That is fantastic. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Tony.
I really you've done like more than one mic drop. So I can't tie this up better. Thank you so much for joining me. Best of luck going forward. This makes a ton of sense for the insurance market. So I have no doubt that you'll end up picking a bunch of insurance clients up over the next year or two.
Thank you so much.